Welcome to the Dream Freaks Podcast, Episode 8, A Freaky Xmas. Mistletoe, eggnog, stacks of presents, the nativity, and jolly old Saint Nick. These are just a few images that come to mind when we think of Christmas. Over the generations, we have become accustomed to these traditions and iconic archetypes. But what if there is more to it? What if underneath all those layers of traditions are other stories and other origins? Could it be possible that perhaps dreams and liminal states were at play when these original stories were conceived? Welcome to Freaky Christmas, where we will be exploring the origins of Christmas through the lens of dreams, visions, and altered states of consciousness.
I'm Alejandro Salinas. I'm a massage therapist, yoga teacher, and dream guide in Chicago.
Hi, I'm Tree Carr, and I'm a dream guide, a death doula, an author, and a tarot reader in London.
And I'm Jennifer Claroscura. I'm a dream guide in New York.
So, are you going to sing that song again, Ale? It sounded so beautiful.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas.
Yeah.
That was good.
We are in the freaky Christmas spirit.
Yeah, things start getting weird this time of year because, it gets darker and everyone goes a little bit loopy. I don't know if you've noticed, but here in London, people drink a lot through the dark days. I mean, it gets dark here at about, it seems like 3:30 in the afternoon or something.
Yes, winter is very linked to alcohol. I gotta say, it's true.
Yeah, a lot of people just plow through by just getting completely, as the Brits over here say, completely pissed drunk.
And that piss has a lot to do with some of the origins of Santa Claus, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, we'll hit that up in this episode. So stay tuned if you want to hear about some magical piss.
How is urine related to Christmas?
Yeah.
Tune back for that.
We will cover all of that. But I guess with Christmas, it all begins with the date. So the 25th of December, and it is seeped in history. So when that date was specifically chosen.
And in numerology, what is the 25th? I just thought of that.
That's a good point. Well, usually in numerology, if there's two numbers, like 2, 5, you add them together. So that would be what, 7?
7?
Yeah.
So God is 7.
Yeah, God is 7. Well, they chose that to be God's birthday, didn't they? December 25th, which was a date basically chosen for Jesus's birth by Sextus Julius Africanus in 221. It became the universal accepted date after that. But nowhere in the New Testament Bible does it say actually it was the 25th of December. So that was basically a chosen date.
Sorry, here it says number 25 center 7 is concerned with acquiring wisdom through knowing the self.
Know thyself.
Know thyself. But yeah, so the December 25th specific date has very different roots than Christianity. Actually, it wasn't Christian at all. It was a popular Roman holiday during Roman Empire times, and it was celebrated in the winter solstice. It was actually the symbol of the resurgence of the sun and the casting away of winter and the heralding of the rebirth of spring and summer. So we're looking at pagan roots.
Nice.
And there's pagans all over the world, even not just pagans, but just in loads of different cultures all around the world, from India to the northern hemisphere, where people are looking at the darkest day of the year in some kind of spiritual significance. And usually there's a lot of ritual and ceremony that revolves around the darkest day. So the darkest day is literally that. It's when we have the smallest amount of sunlight for that day. Yeah, so the most popular one here in the West, it would be the Christian version of of Christmas and the birth of the sun, which is kind of interesting because in the pagan belief system, it's the rebirth of the sun, S-U-N, the literal sun in the sky. And with the Christians, it's the sun, S-O-N, the Son of God.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
That's right. So I thought this would be cool in this episode to explore the origins of Christmas through dreaming and through visions and also altered states of consciousness, which are kind of like dreamlike states when we are in like psychedelic states as well. So believe it or not, the origins of Christmas have a lot of dreams and visions and psychedelic experiences associated with them.
Yeah, especially in the Bible.
Yeah.
You know, my father
True.
used to tell me that the star, the guiding star of the three wise men, was a UFO. That's how I grew up. That's how I grew up, people.
That's amazing. I
That
love that.
explains a lot.
Oh my God,
My
that's
mom,
so cool.
my mom is Catholic, but my father was very science-y and sci-fi-y.
I love
So
that.
his interpretation was always that it was aliens who have always been guiding us from the biblical times, you know. So, and he was really big on dreams too,
Oh, wow.
dreams and visions. So I grew up with both perspectives.
I really love that. You know, like I love that idea. The three wise men looking up and going, "Hey, check out the UFO," and they just start, "Okay, let's get together some gold, some frankincense, and myrrh, and we'll follow that UFO all the way to Bethlehem." But it almost even like the Virgin Mary's, you know, when she was announced that she was going to be the mother of the Son of God, that's kind of like a weird sci-fi experience too. It almost seems like a alien abduction situation, or
Oh,
you know
for
what I
sure.
mean?
Hybrid.
Yeah, like it's a hybrid. I mean, it's like it was what the angel Gabriel who came and visited her. Well, first she was
Mhm.
told she was told that she was going to be what I guess inseminated by God
Mhm.
Himself.
Can you imagine somebody? You imagine like, hey, congratulations, we pick you.
Get away from my vagina.
Especially because she would have been really clearly underage, you know, like between 12 and 16 years old. I mean, that's what the scholars say. That's very young, so that's kind of a bit dodgy, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard that before. That might be something they cover up. And I went to Catholic school my whole life.
All right. Yeah, look it up. I mean, a lot of scholars would, you know, guesstimating and estimating from cultural sort of the way people culturally married and the ages that they were, it would have been between 12 and
Yeah,
16 years old.
and I guess back in the day that was considered. I
Also,
mean,
they wouldn't say that. They hold so much back in
yeah,
Catholic. I was also in some Catholic schools, and they don't tell you the whole thing. They don't interpret it for you. It's very much like here's what it says in the Bible or some verses. They don't really go into like the research, the real research.
Yeah, yeah,
I
that's
mean,
super
You know, because
interesting.
they're missing texts, there's missing books, there's all these things. You know that there were books that were taken out
oh yeah,
and that used to be there. There's the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's so much that
the
gets taken
Gospel of
out.
Thomas.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
lot of things that get taken out.
Yeah, and actually when we were researching this for this podcast, I was like, okay, actually I want to go to the biblical text that talks about the Virgin Mary's visitation from the Archangel Gabriel. And
Mhm.
because I was like, I don't know if I've ever really analyzed that before, so I did. And
Hmm.
because I'll read it just because
Yeah.
I was looking for I was kind of looking for the juicy details, to be honest. I was looking for the actual like how did God impregnate Mary? And like and what did that look like, or you know, how is it described? And but you know, this is all I found. So
What did you find?
I'm actually gonna read from the Bible right now. I'm feeling really
Oh boy.
holy. I'm so holy right now. Okay.
I hope I don't get triggered. I mean, I'm not antichrist, just so people know that. I'm just anti the institutions, but yeah,
Okay,
I'm cool with
I'm
Christ.
gonna try to read this in my most saintly voice ever.
Please do.
Because if I don't,
Bless us.
I'll probably burst into flames, you know. So I would really be better take this. So this is from
Pre-
the Luke chapter 1, verses 26 to 38. So this is the visitation, which could have been like a visitation dream of sorts from
Hmm.
the Archangel Gabriel to the Virgin Mary. And you got to imagine she's between 12 and 16 years old, so she's like a young girl. So here we go. In the 6th month, God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth, a town in Galilee, to a virgin pledged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of David. The virgin's name was Mary. The angel went to her and said, "Greetings, you are highly favored. The Lord is with you." Mary was greatly troubled at his words and wondered what kind of greeting this might be. But the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God, and be with child and give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus. And he will be great, and he will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over the house of Jacob forever. His kingdom will never end." "How will this be?" Mary asked the angel, "since I am a virgin?" The angel answered, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. So the Holy One to be born will be called the Son of God. Even Elizabeth, your relative, is going to have a child in her old age, and she who was said to be barren is in her 6th month pregnancy, for nothing is impossible with God." "I am the Lord's servant," Mary answered. "May it be to me as you have said." Then the angel left her. So, what do you guys think of that? Do you think that was like a sleep paralysis situation, um, or like a waking reverie? What do you guys make of that?
I
Well,
mean,
I don't know. It's kind of strange because I would because of my father, I pondered everything to be related to aliens, honestly. But I don't like now that I've veered a little bit away from exactly what he believed in. I don't know. It could have been like a time travel situation, not just aliens. It could have been humans, you
Hmm.
know, just in from the future, and they know how to do in vitro.
Oh my God, that's a good theory. Because I know in the sleep paralysis state, we can often see things in the room,
yeah.
like entities. A lot of people say they experience and claim to see ghosts or angels, aliens, shadow people, witches, goblins, you name it. And some people even say, I've been abducted by aliens, I've been probed, I've had things, or some people say I've had sex with ghosts, in sleep paralysis. But some,
I've had angel visitation in like the hypnagogic state before. Like actually, it's one of my
ah,
earliest. I mean, that's what it felt like, and it's something that really inspired me going forward. And I was like 13 years old, and I was raised Catholic, like hella Catholic. I was an altar boy, even.
Aw.
ah.
That was fun. I was always late to church, and we'd actually get like.
And now you're goth.
Now I'm goth.
But you love cemeteries.
Love cemeteries,
And
yeah,
candles.
and the altars, yeah, the altar people would get like tips from like funerals and like the wedding people.
Ah,
That was kind of fun. But so I was like pretty into angels and like trying to communicate with angels, and I was meditating before bed, and I didn't explicitly have the intention, that night to like meet or to have an angel visitation or anything, and I'm just doing a regular or visualization where I'm in uh, this like clearing of trees, and just out of nowhere, this like white, bright light humanoid figure
Mm.
appears, and it like freaks me out, and I snap out of it immediately. And I didn't like do any type of those like hypnagogic meditations for like years after that. It was
wow.
so
Wow.
You
really
were shocked.
impactful. Yeah, and it's funny, a lot of the things angels are often saying is like, "Don't be afraid."
Right, right.
Wow,
Mm.
that's interesting. I think probably because the energy and the experience of the situation is just so overwhelming without it's out of our realm of possibility, and it's like, what is going on here? I'm freaking out. Am I losing my mind, or am I awake? Am I dreaming? Am I in sleep paralysis? Am I in hypnagogic? So it's
Yeah, my sister Linda, she's the one that sees dead people. I've probably mentioned her before. She's seen angels, but she sees all these things without wanting to see them. Like she's very scared of these things. But with the moments that she says she has seen angels, she says their wings are so big they traverse the ceiling, and it immediately makes her cry, but she doesn't understand why she's crying. And I've also had a lot of angelic uh, visitations, and dreams of archangels are very common, especially during my
mm,
20s and 30s. They were very common. And they always felt very apocalyptic, not in the sense that everything was being destroyed, but in the sense that their power was so big, it's almost like they could burn through the dream. Uh,
yeah,
and they would always put me in a container to protect me while they did that, which was very strange. But then we have the angels that don't look like angels, which is more of my kind of experience after that, like in my late 30s to now.
yeah.
And no, some in my 20s too, where they look like a person,
Mm.
and yet they let me know that they are angels. So, which is more like that movie with, what is that movie? The German Wim Wenders movie.
Oh,
I
Wings
have
of
no idea.
Desire.
Yeah, very much more like Wings of
Mm,
Desires, but
that's
but they show
lovely.
me like with the moments that they've saved me,
Mm.
how much work they had to do to make sure I didn't die up until then. Like I was shown once all those things. So I still have a lot of I don't, of course not within the institution of Catholicism or anything, but
Mm.
I still have connection with angels. When I do clearing, I use Archangel Michael. I have Archangel Michael on my wall.
Yeah,
Dimitri too, strangely. Uh but yeah, it's something that's very like, if I need healing, I'll go for Raphael and things like that. So for
that's
me, it's
mm,
still an ongoing practice.
that's
Not
Wow.
not
interesting.
full on, but it's still not something I'm very vocal about. But
Yeah, when I was a little kid, I had recurring angel dreams, and I think the very first time I had anything, and I probably was in sort of some type of sleep paralysis situation, but I was sleeping over at like a godparent's house, and I remember um, this light that was kind of like at next to the dresser but through in the wall, and it sort of like it started forming and it became bigger, and it was I felt the energy sort of drawing me in, but I was sort of paralyzed in like in the bed, but it felt like very angelic if I look back at it, but it felt like a glimpse of this amazing place, like almost like a paradise. I guess some people could call it heaven, but it felt as though, I guess, sort of like a little bit of a portal going into another type of place. And I remember that very vividly and the energy that it felt, but also kind of being slightly scared shitless, but then sort of reassured that it was okay. It felt very calming at the same time. And then I had a lot of recurring dreams, probably between the ages of like 9 to 11, of angels in the sky, like looking up in the sky and seeing like the sky like sort of ripped open, and being able to see into the universe. Like all of a sudden, the universe was very close in our own like Earth
Wow.
sky, and then all like teams of angels flying in. And I remember those were lucid dreams where I would become lucid and aware within the dream state. And then my other slightly Jesus-y type of Christian dream was in the astral once in my house, going out of body and flying around the house and coming to the bottom of the stairs of my home, in the living room. And there was Jesus Christ, like on the top of the stairs, floating, like glowing white, with his hands outstretched, floating down the stairs towards me. And I was, completely aware, as you are in the astral plane, and being and feeling the energy and the power of him. And but
how did you feel
I
that?
felt fucking scared. Sorry to swear, but it was really terrifying. It was
Yeah.
terrifying, but in the way where it shocked me so much, and the energy shocked me so much, and I was so like confused because I was awake, and it felt really out of my water, out of my depth, out of my league. And
Well, Jesus is a very yeah, I could see how that could be like mind shattering
yeah,
as a because in Catholicism you only see those images of him crucified, and
Mhm.
those are very the suffering and and my mom would tell me Jesus can see everything you do, and I was like, even when I'm in the bathroom. So when
yeah,
I decided in my adult life to befriend Jesus image, I didn't want to be like haunted by it, so I did a lot of like work in that sense, like in lucid dreams.
yeah.
um and in one dream, I was in a highway with Dimitri in our Ford Explorer, black Ford Explorer, and suddenly the everything stopped, like froze, and I was like, "What is this? What's going on? Why is this dream frozen?" And then there's the headlights point at a Jesus with his arms just like you, the arm stretched out, and I
Yay!
was so scared, and I was like, "I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go." It's like, "I'm gonna go up to Jesus right now." So I like got out, and I was like walking towards Jesus, all scared shitless, and when I finally got there, he grabbed my hands. We grabbed hands and sort of like levitating, and I didn't know, and I was just trusting as we levitated. And then he told me to look down, and when I looked down, I was off the cliff, but I was levitating.
Whoa.
So I wasn't falling. And then somehow we switched sides. So he was off the cliff and I was on the cliff, and then he let go of me, and I was like, I'm going to go for this. So I lunged at Jesus, like, and we fell together, and it was the most peaceful fall I've ever had, full of
Mm.
love.
Wow,
And after that, I kind of I got over it, and I befriended that image and that energy, in a different way.
yeah, that is very interesting, isn't it?
Your own
And
personal
for our own personal
Jesus.
Jesus. Yeah, God, yeah, I was.
What are your views on Jesus, Alejandro?
Jesus is a homie. I mean, again, I like, I,
Oh right, I forgot about it.
I was raised Catholic, and so, I've taken upon many teachers in my day, but Jesus was one of the earliest ones. And I've never had any Jesus dreams. I kind of, I don't want to say abandoned the Catholic Church, but definitely
Mhm,
distanced myself from a lot of that. But
mhm,
I still love, the stories and the teachings of Jesus and the wisdom that there is there.
mhm.
Really rich mythology for sure.
Definitely. And if you search for it, like for me, I'm always on YouTube, and every time I'm searching for dream interpretation or dream work, you get so many pastors and religious channels, from Muslim to Christian. They are everywhere, and I'm always like, wow, it's huge in religion. Like
Mm.
dream work is
I
Of
mean,
just
Dream is
course,
huge.
huge,
yeah.
yeah. Like
It really
Joseph and the
is.
Technicolor
Mhm.
dream coat.
Yeah, Ezekiel and the wheel, or
And
lantern.
they're really into the prophetic dreams. Like their dream work is based around like every for the religious channels that are out there on YouTube. Every dream is the voice of God.
Mm. Mm.
So every they take it that way, which I get it, because for me it's like you can call us highest self or source.
Yeah,
They call it God and Christ, and it is involved, all of that together.
yeah,
Um, but at first I used to be like, no, I don't want to see this channel. But now I actually tune in to see how do they do dream work. I'm very curious how people do dream work, and their methods are interesting.
yeah. So there's like countless examples of dreams within the Quran and also within the Bible, Old and New Testament. And getting back to the Christmas story, Saint Joseph, who was the hubby of of Mary, he had some dreams around the Christmas theme as well, and they seem to be, like you were saying, Jennifer, prophetic dreams, or as we would know them now as precognitive dreams. So he had like four of them, didn't he?
Yeah,
That
that's
that
the
occurred.
ones where he says to not be afraid to take Mary as his wife, that they're going to have, the Son of God, basically.
Yeah,
And then to
Sorry.
told to leave Bethlehem.
Oh yeah,
which
when they
is the
had to flee
start
to
of
Egypt. Yeah.
right. Um, which is, I believe, right. That's how the whole manger story happens.
Oh, right. You know, my I had a before my son was born, my husband already knew he was going to name him Wolf. But he said the second name is up to you. And I had a dream that there was like a Christmas tree, honestly. It was funny. But it wasn't decorated. It was like, like a pine, like a Christmas tree. And it was in a house. It was like inside and outside of it would weave in and out of a house. And there were the three wise men, but there was one that was most prominent, and it was Balthazar. I didn't even know Balthazar was one of the wise men, actually. That's how bad a Catholic I am. But when I woke up and I looked up the word Balthazar and it said the three wise men and there was a Christmas tree and it was kind of like a manger situation, I decided to name Wolfie Wolf Balthazar.
Ah, that's a really great
Wow.
story. I've always wondered that.
Which one was
Yeah.
Balthazar? Right? They brought like
I
myrrh,
don't know.
frankincense, and gold.
He was the dude. Which dude was he? Which
Which dude?
which wise dude?
I just read that Balthazar gave the gift of myrrh. He was the dark one. He was he was he Balthazar was the darker one with the heavy beard, black complexion, and he symbolized the myrrh symbolized the future death of a king.
Yeah. But yeah, so Joseph had like four precognitive dreams around the whole nativity Christmas theme, and also even Mary's experience when she was told by the angel that her cousin was going to have is 6 months pregnant. So that was a precognitive dream too. So there's a lot of precognition going on with around this nativity theme. A lot of precognitive dreams and visitation dreams that seem really like, is it hypnagogic? Is it sleep paralysis? Is this alien visitation?
Maybe
um,
it's the voice of God.
Maybe it's the voice of God. So really, really fun, like really fun to see that dreams play a really big part of the origins of the Christian story of Christmas.
Yeah, and another really popular Christmas story involving dreams is a Christmas Carol.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, and a Christmas Carol, where by Charles Dickens, where Ebenezer Scrooge gets visited by this ghosts of Christmas past in his dreams. They go back in time, and he
Or
looks
astral travel.
upon or
Yeah,
astral travel.
that's a good
Yeah,
point. Because that it does feel very astrally, that whole
Yeah, like
thing.
people time travel all the time in astral.
Yeah. And so his first experience is an after death visitation dream. His dead business partner. So his dead business partner, Jacob Marley, comes visits him. He died like 7 years earlier on Christmas Eve, and pays him a visit and like forewarns him that he's going to be visited by like three spirits or ghosts. And like you said, Jenny, they're like they're time traveling ones. They go past, present, and future.
yeah. Talk about some serious shadow work.
Oh yeah, actually, like astral, like you said, Jenny. Yeah, but yeah, total shadow work there, Ale.
Yeah, like look at the
Mm-hmm.
shit, you old Scrooge.
Ah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, and they make him look at it, and then he changes. After they visit, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to be mean anymore."
Yeah, I don't want to be a stingy old miser. Let's share things. Yeah, so the whole concept was basically
Transformation.
transformative shadow work through the astral plane. I mean, it does
Mm-hmm.
feel very astrally, though, doesn't it, Jenny? Because like astral experiences can really jump timelines. So you can,
Mm-hmm.
visit your past self, your future self. It,
Afterlife.
totally, and it's got that also really weird ghostly realm sense, like the astral realm, astral zone,
Twilight. Mm-hmm.
very twilighty, very. It's like the dead zone in between realities and between dimensions. So I
And
got that idea.
I had a dream or an astral, I guess you could say. I dreamt that I got out of my body, or I actually did get out of my body. See, it's very very hazy what happened. And I once I was out of my body, I realized that I wasn't returning to it. It was like, oh shoot, I died. And it was a difference. It was different than getting out of your body. It was like leaving forever your body.
Hmm.
And when I got out, there was a number assigned to me. It was like a number of my soul. It was 6666666666666, like never ending infinity sixes.
666.
I know, right? And I was feeling awful because I didn't have the comfort of my body, or I couldn't touch things. It was very like daunting. And I visited Dimitri. It like jumped timelines to the future, and Dimitri is publishing my book.
Wow, cool.
He grabbed all my journals, and he's talking to the air saying, "I'm doing this. I am publishing your book," you know? And as soon as I came back, like I snapped back into my body. I couldn't breathe. I felt like I really had been gone. Like my body took a while to adjust. And after that, I was like, Dimitri's not going to publish my book. I'm going to publish my book, you know? But it totally changed how that experience. Like I had been procrastinating. I'm actually writing now, but I don't want to die and have Dimitri publish my book. That's not what I want to happen. It will not happen.
So you had a
But
very much
yeah,
kind of like Ebenezer Scrooge. You had a little glimpse of what could be, and you're like, no, we got to change that.
to die without fulfilling a dream or something, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But even though I was a soul, I was like, what was I afraid of? There's nothing to be like. You should just put out whatever. It's not even if it's perfect or not. It's not about that, you know. And it did make a difference.
So yeah, so getting back to the Christmas Carol, which was written in 1833 by Charles Dickens, there seems to be really big themes of after death visitation dreams, working in the astral plane, um, and kind of maybe spirit guides a bit there too, because these three
Mm,
spirits that visit him, they're called the three spirits of Christmas.
Yeah.
yeah.
They take him, each one takes him to the past, the present, and the future. They almost seem as though they're spirit guides in some kind of
Mhm.
way, because they're guiding him through lessons, like life lessons, through shadow work, through the way the guy was like totally stingy and miserable and not very loving person, so kind of showing him at his worst as well, right? He goes back to the various scenes of Christmas past and present, and then also the future. And if he was to carry on with his shadowy aspects, these could be, the outcomes. So at the end of his whole astral journey and shadow journey, he comes out a changed man, transformed and transcending his shadow.
Yeah, that part was always like when he went to visit his grave.
Yeah.
Um and he was thrown in it, right? He was thrown into his grave
Yeah, because like
by that last ghost.
yeah, the grim, because the last ghost almost looked like the Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
And ghost is death can be our guide and biggest teacher, even though like that's such a scary to see that bit. um Certainly.
Do people and I think that's something people often think about, like who's going to come to my funeral? It's a weird thought, but I've heard a lot of conversations like this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that story, the Christmas Carol, it's been adapted in so many ways through stories and like through media, and like certainly there's been so many different remakes, like in films, um,
Theaters
like
every year.
theaters. And the big message, like there's a huge message with this story from Charles Dickens. It was, one of generosity and love and connection. um, there's so much there that generation after generation, the human spirit has really um, identified a lot with the messages of the Christmas Carol. um, and effectively it seems as though it's like an astral journey and shadow lesson, and we can all learn
Mhm.
that lesson collectively, all over the world through any culture, really.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
True.
Which is, I think, the bottom line of like a lot of the dream work is like, hey, be nice. I mean,
Yeah.
if anything, religions, anything is always just like be nice, be generous, be loving,
Be
or
cool to
else.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, cuz money is in the end it is an energy, and it needs to flow. It can't be like stuck, stagnant, I guess.
You know, one of my favorite quotes, totally kind of unrelated, but it reminds me of what you just said from the Book of Merdad. This guy says that love, like blood, must flow freely, unrepressed. And if at any point the blood is repressed, disease comes to receiving and the giving, which is a
Yeah.
big theme around Christmas, you know, Santa Claus.
Oh
And
yeah.
the cultural phenomena of gift giving and this dude coming down the chimney.
I know. Seems so wrong when you think about it, right? It's like, who is this chubby invader? What's he doing in my house? It's really Creepsville.
You'd
Also, the
think,
leaving out of the cookies and, it's a bit like,
yeah,
ooh.
I mean, he's got to keep his chubs. You'd think for someone going down chimneys, they wouldn't be depicted as so chubby.
I know. I know. Well, the origins of Santa is really connected to some interesting theories of dream states, shamanism, and altered states of consciousness.
Is that where the elves come from?
Yeah, I mean, like when we think of Santa, we look back and we think of Saint Nicholas, Father Christmas, Kris Kringle, and like all these stories, they stretch all the way back to the 3rd century, and they've evolved in various forms all around the world in various cultures. Um, it's like he's an archetypal image of gifting to children, and it seems to be like in a lot of different cultures. But there's examples. Well, there's a theory that extends beyond all of the midwinter festival, Yule, winter solstice cultures and stories, and also the jolly Santa Claus. So there's this really interesting theory that's been proposed that actually the Santa story and the gifting story, and even like aesthetically, the colors, like the red and the white, and the reindeers and the chimney and like the snow, it all actually comes from Siberian shamanism.
And apparently, I heard the
Ooh.
mushrooms would only grow under a certain type of evergreen tree. And
Oh,
that,
right. So, yeah.
and then to dry them out, they would like hang the mushrooms like, you know, like ornaments from the branches, and then put the mushrooms, they would give them to people once after the shaman collected them, and put them in socks, and they would hang them over the fire for them to dry out even further.
Yeah.
Like the Christmas
So
stockings.
yeah, exactly. So these are like the origins of the gifting and also the red and white, because what Ale is talking about is these hallucinogenic mushrooms called Amanita muscaria. They're also called fly agate. And they are psychedelic mushrooms. And when you eat them, you go into altered states of consciousness. Um, so yeah, very linked to this shamanic journey, and also the ritual that you were saying of collecting the mushrooms, hanging them on the branches of the pine tree, driving them out, and taking them back to the village.
Yeah, and I guess they would
Um,
see like the reindeer eat them and like eat their own piss after they pissed them out. The reindeer would be acting funny, and the shamans were like, "What's going on here? Let me try some of this yellow snow."
Well, that's exactly what they did. Apparently, the shaman fed the magic mushrooms to the reindeer, and then they would collect their urine. And because the digestive systems of the reindeer, they've filtered out most of the toxins. So it made their urine safe for humans to drink it and get a safer high that way.
Wow.
So they're accidentally drinking psychedelic reindeer piss.
I mean, accidentally or intentionally?
No, they knew what to do. They knew that they needed to drink the psychedelic reindeer piss in order to get the visions, the shamanic visions. But the reindeer happened to really love these mushrooms, and they'd eat them whenever they could. So they always had a supply of magic pea, always waiting for them all winter.
A lot of animals trip. There's like a lot of recorded cases of animals tripping.
I know. And so when they like the reindeers, when they tasted the mushrooms, when they ate the mushrooms, they would literally get high, and they would prance and dance around, jumping so high. Obviously, maybe that's why they looked like they were flying, and we got the whole the story of the flying reindeer, because we had reindeer who were actually high on magic mushrooms.
Wow.
Also, the mushrooms are red and white, and the shamans would wear red and white as well, like Santa. So there you have the Santa, and then you have the reindeer, but also the gifting, the pine trees, and like hanging the mushrooms on the pine tree. But also, so where the chimney comes in, that's part of it as well. So the shaman would gather, all the mushrooms and some reindeer urine, the psychedelic reindeer urine. He put it in a large sack, and then he would return home to his yurt. But it would be this is in Siberia, so there'd be a lot of snow, and a lot of the snow would be blocking the door. So there would be the chimney hole in the middle of the yurt.
What?
So the idea was that he would slide down, the shaman, he or she would slide down the central pole that held the yurt up over the fireplace, and then he'd come down that way, and then once he was in there, he would hand out like the shrooms to the guests, like little gifts. I love this story.
We should bring back this old traditions at Christmas.
Oh, we should really have psychedelic Christmases, shouldn't we?
That's the real Christmas spirit we can get behind.
Instead of eggnog, we'd be drinking psychedelic, reindeer piss.
The flavor.
Pass.
Reindeer pass. That's how.
No piss, no psychs.
That's where the elves come in. The elves and the sprites and the elementals and the mushroom. Yeah, a lot of the mushroom energy. But yeah, often these types of entities come through in the psychedelic experience: mushrooms, gnomes, trolls, pixies, fairies. Even with psilocybin, or even with the DMT experience, these are kind of commonly reported experiences between people. But certainly, what you said, Jennifer, is the need to process and integrate and your psychedelic experience is just as important as dream work. So you take upon the lessons that you learned or the insight that you got from your psychedelic experience, much like a dream, and you continue to work with it like homework. So it's not entertainment. I mean, some people use it for entertainment, but a lot of it is actually, there's work and there's homework and there's integration to be done. I think a lot of people aren't guided in the right way when it comes to engaging in psychedelics or even any type of plant work. It could be winerogens or psychoactive plants as well. Plants are our helpers and our guides. We work with them in partnership. I think that's the best way of putting it. They do open our minds up to more connected flow states, but I do believe we can get there without the help of plants, psychedelics or psychoactives. Like you said, like Jenny, you can just get there on your own through the dream state, but I guess some of us explore it a little bit deeper because we need the extra guidance or help.
Thanks. So I think with that, it's almost time to slip into a tarot reading, yeah?
Yes, we're gonna do a Christmas tarot reading. So this is gonna be a gift, right? Is this tarot pull a gift for our listeners?
Tarot pull is a gift.
No, it's not a trick or treat.
Well, it's not a trick or
this
treat.
tarot pull is going to be a gift to our listeners. Wow, this is a really nice gift for Christmas. Oh, that's really cool. I pulled the sun card. Isn't that amazing? Especially for the darkest day, for this, winter solstice. So I pulled the sun. So
wow.
The sun card is one of the main archetype cards in the tarot deck. It's part of the major arcana. And what can I say about the sun? It's super positive. There's a lot of positivity with the sun, positive mental outlook, a lot of warmth and vitality with the sun as well. We've got a big sun that's beating down its rays on a little child who's naked. We were talking about nudity earlier. Sorry. A little kid who's it's your son. It's the sun.
Oh yeah.
It's your little naked son, Wolfie, on a horse.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
My
there's a
neighbor.
lot of. I
Totally.
just love that we pulled the sun, especially because of the Son of God, and like we've got all of these everything that's tying in a lot to Christmas. Um, so we have a child on a horse,
Yeah.
very carefree. We've got sunflowers opening up around him. Such an optimistic card. How can we bring this into this as a gift? Well, we wanted to wish our listeners success, abundance. Let the sun shine down on you and give you strength, no matter where you are in your life right now, where you are and what you are navigating. Let it bring you positivity and radiant energy. We wish you also happiness and joy with the sun card, and lots of warmth and connection with all of the people that you love, with your family members, with your friends and your coworkers, colleagues, and peers. Let the light of your consciousness radiate and shine on all those around you and that you love and care about. So if you're going through a difficult time, the sun's really going to bring you the message that things are going to get a lot better. So just hang in there. Things change. We get challenges and we navigate hard times, but just like the weather, and the sky is always changing and there's clouds, but then the sun comes out. This will happen too. So if you feel like you're navigating something very dark at the moment, just know that it's not forever, that things change and the sun will pop out and shine its light on you. Yeah, it's a great card for Christmas. I think that's a really lovely gift. Thank you,
And
tarot
open up to
cards.
those prophetic dreams, open up to the prophetic dreams, see what happens.
Thank you all again so much for tuning into another episode of The Dream Freaks. If you liked what you heard, please write a review, share with a friend, post on your social medias, tag us. We love listening to what you all have to say. We love interacting with all of you. If you'd like to support us on Patreon, you can hop on over there for as little as $1 a month. And there are a lot of fun perks. And now we'll slip into the liminal realms between waking, dreaming,